First, I want to start off with this question. Where do our teenagers stand today? Among teens aged 18 through 19, 41% report that they know little or nothing about condoms. That should raise questions in our minds, such as where is the guidance from the schools when it comes to sex? In this generation, young children and teenagers find out and learn about sex in the streets, but who's to say they are learning the right information? They are young women from age 15 and up that are learning having babies of their own while they are still starting off their lives, meaning that their youth is gone because they have to learn to take care of their children and grow up faster. The reason why young adults are exploring sex so early in their lives is because all they know about sex is what they hear or see by the wrong influences. When I was in middle school, I had a sex education class that talked about realistic facts about sex and abstinence. We had projects such as taking care of an egg for weeks as if it were a baby to show how hard it can be for a young mother or parents, period. I honestly can say that after learning more about the sex and responsibilities that come with it, it just convinced me to think twice about making decisions in the future. As I got older, I realized that sex education classes weren't as much as an importance when I was in school. Some schools don't even have the course anymore, and that made me wonder why. During my research, I found out that according to an article on mailonline.com, more than half of parents took a survey on the topic if schools should teach sex education. They believe that sex education should be taught to children at school. Should not be taught, excuse me. They think it is inappropriate to teach children and sex. Every individual is entitled to their own opinion, and my opinion is that what is inappropriate is to have teenagers that should be focused on their education and future are instead turning their focus on having unprotected sex and end up having children that aren't ready for them to take care of. Once they have a child of their own and their future is either going to be put on pause or they're not having a chance to fulfill their dreams. I strongly believe that parents need to be more involved with their children's lives and sit them down to give them the realistic facts that they need to know. The teenagers are also need to have sex education in their schools in order to learn the right way about how to protect themselves if they were to decide to have sex, and learn the diseases they could catch if they don't make smart decisions. The school boards and the parents need to open their eyes to what is happening around them. These teenagers need to have authority and guidance about their actions when it comes to sex. They need to work together in order to prevent less teen pregnancies from occurring. According to an article, DoSomething.org, there is currently no federal law program dedicated to supporting comprehensive sexuality education that teaches young people about both abstinence and contraception. Only 22 states require their public schools to teach sex education. I believe that the government needs to make this subject one of their top priorities when it comes to sex education, because as generations go on, the problem is going to only get worse. More than 90% of teachers believe that students should be taught about contraception, but 25% are prohibited from doing so. Public schools districts do not believe the difference they could make if they put more effort in education and educating young people about the importance of abstinence, so they wouldn't rush to experience it. Public schools are still debating whether or not promoting condoms in school promotes sexual promiscuity. I believe because condoms promote abstinence, they should take that into consideration. Through my own experience, I understand the pressures that a teenager goes through when it comes to sex. The kids of today and the future must be taught not to cave into pressure and stand up against it. Abstinence isn't something considered cool in high school, but having an education and having a baby at a young age isn't cool. Teenagers must be aware of the risks they are taking by having unprotected sex. Though it might feel good for the moment, they must understand that their actions may last a lifetime. In my opinion, sex education needs to be taught at a young age so they have an idea about sex. Negative influences about sex is everywhere, such as commercials, billboards, posters, music, movies, and many more. If they can throw these types of images into the faces of teenagers, then why can't we do the same about abstinence? It seems as though we are taking steps backwards in sex education. According to American Center for Disease Control, 47.4% of high school students have had sex, and those are the only students who admitted it. There are some who feel sex education should not be taught in schools, but let's face it, in today's world, you can Google just about anything about sex. I think it is best if they learn it from their parents or teachers instead of the internet. It is our job to help these teenagers make the right decisions in life about sex so they don't make the wrong choices that they would regret in the future. Teenage pregnancies are occurring more every year, and when they give birth, their children are more likely to suffer health and cognitive disadvantages, come into contact with child welfare and correctional systems, live in poverty, drop out from high school, and become a teen parent themselves. In conclusion, sex should be a sacred thing for teenagers to cherish as long as they can. And with these negative influences out there in this world, I understand it can be extremely hard to do. We all have been there in our lives, so we understand how it can be when you don't have the proper guidance, and that is why sex education should be a must in public schools. Thank you.